When a man loves a woman, can keep his mind.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Nikki, Aurora, and from me. Well, I have a lot of ground to cover today, and I also have a lot of appreciation to show, starting with Royal Rogerine, who has sent those beautiful flowers not only to me, but to mark everybody who gave to Thomas Markle's birthday. We raised £55,840, which I am hoping is going to be winging its way via a GoFundMe to Thomas Markle this week. I have asked them to send the money, and hopefully they will send the money without further ado. It's quite a palaver, it turns out, to get money sent. But anyway, we are doing it. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Royal Rogerine, who also has a very nice note, which I will not read out. It's long but it's very droll. Thank you, Royal Rogerine. I suppose anybody who comes up with a name like that has got to have a sense of humour. That's the first thing. The second thing is, didn't Catherine look well? Don't all those jerks and idiots, starting with the Sussex squad and Christopher Boozy and Harry and Meghan's people, all of whom were trying to say that she no longer existed, or that blah, 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 one load of nonsense after another, some of which were so bizarre that I can't repeat them on air. Well, she and William, who's looking quite bearded, I actually prefer him clean shaven, but I think we can take him with a beard as well, don't you think? They posted something congratulatory, as many of you might know, about the Olympics, and with people like Snoop Dogg and David Beckham. And what I find really interesting is how the new establishment is the celebrity establishment, the populist establishment. The old established order has been totally marginalized. And last but not least, I need to make an announcement. The Romanian elements, I should say, of the Romanian judiciary and the Romanian government have been trying to imprison Prince Paul of Romania, who is the rightful heir to the non-existent throne of Romania. Princess Margherita is not a custodian of anything, because her father, ex-King Michael, and I emphasize the ex because he abdicated twice on behalf of himself and his descendants, while Prince Paul's father, Prince Carol, was the elder legitimate son of King Carol II. And this is a matter that has trundled through the European courts in Portugal, Britain, France, etc., for decades. And Princess Margherita is married to somebody who was with the Securitate, and they have a lot of influence with a certain segment of the government in Romania, which I will say, quite frankly, that segment of the government and the judiciary is as crooked as a corkscrew. And they have tramped up charges against Prince Paul, and they have actually, the judiciary found that he had committed a fraud by stealing his own money. I don't know how that works, and the French government, when they tried to get him arrested on a European arrest warrant, an Interpol arrest warrant, Interpol withdrew the warrant and said they had no right to issue it. They tried to get the French to detain him, and the French quite rightly refused to, and made European court history by being the first nation to actually refuse to abide by an arrest warrant and an extradition request from another European state. And then the Romanian government, when he was in Malta, I was in Malta for something with him to do with the Russian segment of the Knights of Malta. And he was made the head of the Knights of Malta, because the previous head who had been invited refused to actually accept it, and as long as he was around, they did not have another head, which was Grand Duke Vladimir, because before him it was Grand Duke Alexander, and the Romanian state, knowing that Paul was in Malta, issued an extradition request to the Maltese. And this has been trundling through the courts for the last 2 or 3 months. And the Maltese threw it out as well. So there are now 2 European Union states who have effectively said that the Romanian judiciary and that element of the Romanian state that is involved with this is corrupt. More of this will come, but I just thought I would, to those well-wishers of Prince Paul, that I am delighted. I actually, in my own small way, made sure that I mobilized myself. As soon as I heard that he had been detained in Malta, without consulting him or his wife, and I've known Paul for over 50 years, and I've known his wife since before they got married. I've known her since she was first in England. She's American. She was married to the great American advocate Melvin Belli, so she knows her way around the law. And they have very good connections internationally. And I didn't consult with them. I simply phoned up the Maltese authorities and made them understand that this is a political matter, that the Romanian state is using the judiciary and the European courts to try to nail someone on behalf of an enemy, because Margarita is his enemy. But Margarita, it has to be said, is also, according to members of her own family, their enemy as well, because she ain't sharing nothing, as Meghan might say, with anybody but herself. Anyway, we won't go there with all of that. I just thought I would share the good news. And now we plunge in with what Natty Angel says. And Since Meghan and Harry are going to be flaunting themselves in Colombia in a few days, and their conduct is so questionable, I think we can address some of the points related to their conduct, past, present, and doubtless future. Natty Angel says, Meghan has no regard for her father's mental health, so she has zero right to talk about mental health, period. Same with Harry and his father. Both are not qualified educationally, but most importantly, not qualified in heart. Heart is in quotation marks. I couldn't agree more. Well, the irony, the paradox, the hypocrisy, the laughability of these two jerks lecturing people about compassion and family, and mental health, when they don't care about the damage they have inflicted upon the King, the Princess of Wales, the other royals, because they have been affected as well, and Thomas Markle, and also Samantha Markle, because Meghan set out to deprive her sister, who is wheelchair bound, of the ability to earn a livelihood. Now, I don't know what you call that, but I call it evil. Evil. And if Meghan thinks that she has an actionable case against me, if she thinks what I've said is not true and not fair and it's defamatory and she deserves better, I invite her to issue proceedings. Elsie Zimmerman says, drama is Meghan's real name. Oh my dear, you can say that again. Oh, one tear left eye. And don't my new eyes look great as well? Don't they just look fabulous? Blairoplasty is just so fabulous. It goes with my new nose and my new teeth and my new personality and my new rank and my new everything. Drama is Meghan's real name. That is what she strives for. Absolutely right. She is clueless when it comes to mental health. But she certainly is expert on what is the great way of affecting other people's mental health. Meghan and Harry are the last people to be speaking about mental health. Their own mental health is far from healthy. Several exclamation marks. Elsie Zimmerman, well spoken. But they're going to Colombia, not to preach the virtues of mental health, but to improve their mental health by preaching the virtues of censorship. They are piggybacking on mental health to censor you and me and everybody else. And my understanding is that the official bodies in this country, and notice I didn't say only one, are very, very concerned about the fact that Meghan and Harry are presenting themselves as official representatives of causes where they have no official capacity whatsoever. Now, it needs to be said that last year, I think it was in November, Sophie Edinburgh, the Duchess of Edinburgh, she went to Colombia. She was asked to go to Colombia by Francia Marquez. So she's got Sophie to go to Colombia, and now she has Harry and Meghan going. But according to people on the ground in Colombia, they're going to be playing the colour card because evidently only 6.8% of the population of Colombia is black. So they are a distinct minority. Nevertheless, Francia Marquez is pushing a black empowerment agenda. Peggy Kelly says, UK law re-legitimacy is very problematic. If I understood Lady C's explanation correctly. For example, consider this. The wife of a prince is inseminated via IVF. The egg is from a random woman. The sperm from a random man. The wife carries the child to term and is born of her body. The child has no royal DNA yet is legitimate, will inherit titles and be put in the line of succession. How can this be? Peggy Kelly, you're very astute. But that is not what the law says. That is what cheats who would get their way around the law would do. But the law, and I know this because of a matter that is on the back boiler involving a certain title, where the heir to the title, the correct heir to the title, is the brother, while the acknowledged legal heir was the son of the previous title holder, except that the previous title holder's wife, who gave birth to the child in question, she went to America, she got herself impregnated, she came back and gave birth, and the heir, however, does not have any of her DNA. It's not her egg. She was too old. Because of that, there is the possibility, although it seems unlikely, because the brother also has a title, and in fact a superior title. The younger brother has a superior title to the elder brother, but there is every possibility of that title holder going the way that Viscount Castlereagh went. So no, you get away with it as long as you fulfill the superficial requirements, and the presumption of legitimacy allows you to get away with it. But if people know that there is chicanery involved and they decide to take it to court, you can lose your right to the title. So, presumption of legitimacy is one thing, but when there is actual proof of fraud or chicanery, let's just call it chicanery, sorry, That doesn't mean it's going to stand forever. Let's put it that way. So, UK law regarding presumption of legitimacy may be problematic, but it's not quite as problematic as con artists are. Well, it will prove, let me rephrase that, it will prove to be very problematic when con artists try to pull the wool over other people's eyes and there is actual proof of the con. St. Mary Mead, I love it, says, Dear Lady C, I believe that if Meghan Markle had given birth to Archie, she would not have missed the opportunity of standing on the steps of St. Mary's, on the spot where Princess Diana had stood when Princes William and Harry were born. She would have made the most of being the centre of attention around the world, as she did on her wedding day. Best wishes to all at Castle Goring. Marie. Marie, you are entitled to your beliefs. I would be the last one to deprive you of your right to believe what you wish to believe. There are many people who think that one of the rationales for supporting the hypothesis that Meghan did not give birth to Archie, but she gave birth to Harry as well. The new Harry is Meghan's creation, but with a bit of assistance from him. So, slip of the mouth, but actually also dovetailing with a correct thought. Many people believe that had she genuinely given birth, that she would have been posing up for the storm. Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. Oh, haven't I just produced the most wonderful, beautiful baby ever? And look at him. Proud, confident prince of colour. Yeah. But since he's too fair-skinned, we just cover him up. There are people who believe that. And I am not going to deprive them of their right to believe what they want to, because there are too many questions that arise as a result of Meghan's conduct and demeanour throughout the pregnancy for me to have any confidence that any assertion I would make that would explain away why she didn't stand on those steps at St. Mary's, Paddington, were valid. Let's leave it at that. Tracy Thompson says, I believe this version. She keeps Harry in the dark about a lot of the something it she gets up to. But I also think he really is an idiot. He refuses to see what he doesn't want to. She's Val. He knows it deep down, but refuses to call her out on it. He's a true coward, and it makes it difficult to have much sympathy for him. At some point, one needs to take responsibility for one's own actions. Tracy Thompson, I couldn't agree more. I think people do need to take responsibility for their own actions. My understanding is that she does keep Harry in the dark about a lot of things. I mean, for instance, it is hardly credible that in the Oprah interview that Harry would have said one thing and Meghan said a completely different one, and that she hadn't gilded that lily after they had, because she had to have known what Harry was going to say and what Harry's narrative was. But she changed the narrative on him, beefing it up so that she would make herself more of a victim and pillory the poor royal family more than Harry had intended that they be pilloried. And my understanding is that she does this often with many different things in many ways, shapes, and forms. You think she's vile? Her conduct leads me to believe that she is vile. I think it's a very good word to use. Does he know it? My understanding is, from what people have said, he does. He's not as vile as she is, but he goes along with it. If you go along with it, you are equally culpable. I rest my case. J. Fra says, hello, Lady C. I knew the bullying reports were true the minute Jason Knopf was recognised on the honours list. Reading between the lines seems like a dying art. It is a dying art. People so often have no subtlety whatsoever. If it isn't dished up and then they're spoon-fed with it in the most exaggerated form, they very often miss the point. Fortunately, on this channel, most of the people who are on it are informed, well-reasoned, educated, sentient, thinking people. But you're absolutely right. Many people have wanted not only that it be obvious that the bullying reports were accurate and that the findings of the bullying reports did not exonerate Meghan. The mere fact that an announcement was not made to the effect that it exonerated Meghan meant that it did not exonerate Meghan. And then when Jason Knopf was honoured with the Royal Victorian Order, which is in the gift of the monarch, it's not a political thing, it's in the gift of the monarch, it's obvious to anybody that what the palace is saying, without saying it in so many words, is the investigations confirmed that Meghan is a bully. Unfortunately, they also confirmed that Harry is a bully. Harry backed up Meghan. Let's remember that one. Windsong says, how is it that the European Queen could remove princely titles from her son and his children, but the British King cannot? You're speaking about the Queen of Denmark. She did not remove the princely rank of her son. She removed the princely rank of her grandsons and granddaughter. She could do it because Denmark has one set of laws and Britain has another. Just because something is done in Venezuela doesn't mean it can be done in Afghanistan. Or just because something is done in the United Kingdom doesn't mean it can be done in Monaco. Each state has its own laws. And the laws governing the monarchy in Denmark and Sweden are a lot more simplistic as well as simple than they are in the United Kingdom. And there's a reason for it. Denmark and Sweden did not, in the last 100 years, have an empire. The British had an empire. the British had an empire and it also had dominions, which were a part of the empire. And then the dominions and the other realms that became totally independent transmogrified so really into the Commonwealth. In the interim, there were protocols and laws and preambles to laws put in place that acknowledged the status of the dominions as independent of the British Crown, but they were still a part of the British Empire, and they were, as a result of being states that were dominions, that were, I'm trying to find a way of explaining it simplistically, that were, through the monarch, they were then members of the British Empire and the British Commonwealth, because this was the start of the Commonwealth. So I hope that explains it. What one monarch can do, because they have one set of rules and constraints and laws, another can't, because they have a different set of rules. Just because you're a king doesn't mean, or a queen or a monarch, doesn't mean that everybody is governed by the same rules, any more than presidents are all governed by the same rules. They certainly aren't. What the President of the United States of America can do doesn't mean that the President of Argentina can do. I just make that point for what it's worth. Linda Macro says, Lady Colin Campbell, don't you think William will take their titles when he is king by introducing a new statute or royal charter when serious ongoing disloyalty to the royal family has occurred? Linda Macro, very good thinking. Just because a law exists doesn't mean it can't be trumped by another law. However, where you have several different states involved, it's not necessarily that easy. If you are going to have respect for the rule of law, you have to have respect for the rule of law and the rights that laws have given to other people. So can William do something like that? William has wriggle room, as does Charles. They have wriggle room. Just as how the Queen ordered Harry and Meghan to cease using their Royal Highness style, there are things that the King, whether it be Charles or William, will be able to do that give some wriggle room. Unfortunately, their priority cannot be punishing Harry or stripping Harry and Meghan of their ability to be taken seriously and create mischief by misusing their royal rank. The primary consideration has to be for the other states and their rights. Now, William has made it clear that he is not so invested at this point in necessarily being elected as the head of the Commonwealth. And if he were not elected head of the Commonwealth at the end of his father's reign, that would make it an awfully lot easier for him to just jump out of that starting gate and win the race. Let's put it that way. Shaw Roberts says, "Dear Lady C, please will you deliver in the most sensitive of ways your viewers' sympathies, regrets, and respects to the families and friends of Alice, Baby, and Elsie, the lost daughters of Stockport. May they rest in peace, rise in glory." Thank you very much for that. Of course, I am very happy to convey on behalf of everyone who wishes me to my sympathies and your sympathies with regards to the awful events in Stockport. I would also refer everybody to Sir Tony Sewell. He's actually now Lord Sewell. He is a black Jamaican, and he has made the point which I made the other day, and he made it in the Telegraph over the weekend, and I am going to make the point again that he made, which is that it does not behoove this or any other government or representative of the people to try to marginalise those of the people who have valid complaints. And if their cause is hijacked by mischief makers, it doesn't alter the fact that the white working class young males in this country are disadvantaged relative to all other segments of the population that are comparable with them. Over the weekend, I declared open the improvements in a local church, and I'm not going to mention the name of the church. Actually, I am going to mention the name of the church. It's St. James the Less in Lansing, and it's a wonderful church. They have the most fantastic, really amazing hall that has been converted in a part of the church that people can hire out for £12 an hour. So I would recommend that everybody who lives locally, who wants the bargain of the century, if they have an event that would be suitable to have it in St. James the Less Church in Lansing, that they get in touch with the church and hire the hall. Can you imagine? £12 an hour. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. And also it has superb heating, because they have a new heating system called the Halo, which has two on either end of the wall. There is two electrical thingies, and in the middle on the ceiling is a halo, and it heats the people. It doesn't heat the room, it heats the people within the room, and it's evidently extremely effective. New way to go, heating people instead of rooms. Anyway, I was there and I declared it open, cut the ribbon, etc. And I met some really rather lovely and interesting people. And I met two new councillors for the area, both of whom were charming. And I pointed out, of course, the whole matter of the riots and what part the government is going to play in making sure that not only are the riots dealt with in a constructive and positive and legal way, but that any underlying causes that are justifiable and just are not ignored. And I made the point that several Conservative governments have failed recently, have failed the young, white, working class male, and that I hoped the Labour government was going to do better. And one of the councillors, the younger councillor, tried to point out to me that, oh no, my facts are wrong, that in fact, no, they're not. And I said, excuse me, white privilege has never extended to white working class males in this country. And I just cut her off because I could see that she was a perfectly nice woman and doubtless earnest, and maybe in Lansing, the preferred minorities, which are very small, would, as a result of being small, would fall outside of the parameters of which I was speaking. But certainly, as a rule of thumb in this country, there is, and I made the point that I do not believe in positive discrimination. And she was effectively trying to tell me, and I said to her, I'm sorry. I said, you're wrong, and you need to look at the research. And I would suggest that you, for starters, read what Sir Tony Sewell has to say about the issue. And he's black and he is Jamaican. So now British as well. But he's Jamaican. And not a white Jamaican, not a grand Jamaican, a black Jamaican. And he and I are absolutely in accord on this matter. So I think what happened was a great tragedy. I certainly feel for the families involved. I certainly feel that anybody who is a marauder and takes advantage of genuine tragedies should have the full force of law brought to bear. And I therefore think that the law needs to be colourblind. And just because one segment of the population is, if it's, let me rephrase that. The law should apply equally to all segments of the population, irrespective of their class or colour. And we will end with what Meryl de Groot says. Hello, Lady C. Thank you for this evening's discussion on the unrest we are experiencing here in the UK. I'm afraid that despite our not being racist and in the main welcoming of all, there are certain sectors of society who are playing to the Labour Party and two-tier policing and deliberately poking the bear. I'm being careful here, as we can now be arrested for simply having an opinion. I, too, am an immigrant, naturalized some 24 years ago, and ensured that we integrated fully into the British way of life. My choice to move here, therefore, my obligation to adopt the culture and values of my new home. I am a very proud Britisher and agree wholeheartedly that we need to find a way to live peacefully together within our British culture and values. I couldn't agree more. And I have to say, I noticed that David Lammy, I've appeared on David Lammy's shows on several occasions. I like David Lammy. He's a decent guy. We have friends in common. But my politics do not always accord with his, nor do my views. But I did think when he said that British culture is tolerant, etc., he was right. I also thought that he needed to get that message across, but he's not the only one who should get that message across, because it needs to be got across by not only people who are of immigrant stock, but of, I don't know that we can use the word indigenous, so we'll use original, although it's not original either. Long-standing stock, going back centuries. And there are problems in this country that are valid problems that have arisen as a result of fashionable positions which would push one segment of the population to the detriment of another. If we have to make up our minds, are we having a society that is everybody has opportunities and then it's done of merit, or are we not? We can't have a meritocracy where merit doesn't enter into the equation, or merit is too low down the totem pole. We can't, to mix my metaphors, we can't have that sort of thing. I'm basically a meritocrat, and I believe in conserving that which needs to be conserved, respecting that which needs to be respected, amending that which needs to be amended, helping those who need help, and then everybody needs to function and stand on their own 2 feet. A society that infantilizes its adults is doomed to failure and will be taken over by societies that are more realistic and more disciplined and less self-indulgent. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. Please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be speaking about. Thank you so much. Take good care. God bless. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed.